Welcome back. And by the way, if you thought that things were crazy up until this point, it even gets worse. Chapter 9 is probably the most difficult of all the chapters because it has such strange things happening. So I want to start off by reviewing the four trumpets, the first four trumpets of judgment. Number one, 1/3 of all the trees and all the green vegetation is destroyed. Number two, 1/3 of the sea life will be destroyed by an asteroid or a nuclear explosion. Number three, 1/3 of the water supply will be toxic. And four, the dimming of the stars and the sun. Then we move to the three woes. The three woes come with the sounding of the fifth trumpet and the seventh trumpet judgments. Woe number one, fifth trumpet, says this: the release of demons from the bottomless pit. And woe number two, the sixth trumpet, 4 demons released from beneath the Euphrates, chapter 9, verses 13 through 21. Then you have 200 million man army. They will be led by the Antichrist, the false prophet, and the devil, as well as the demons. Then 1/3 of the world's population is destroyed, Revelation 9:18. Then you have the 2 witnesses will torment the world for 3.5 years, Revelation 11:1 through 14. And then there'll be an earthquake that'll kill 7,000 people in Jerusalem. So as we start looking at chapter 9, you start saying, man, there's a lot of things happening. It does get worse. Woe number 3, the seventh trumpet. Satan is cast out of heaven, Revelation 12:12. He empowers the Antichrist. He raises up the false prophet. He gives a mark to represent loyalty. He kills those who do not receive the mark. So as we move on, we start looking at trumpet number 5. Demons are released from the pit. That's Revelation chapter 9, verses 1 through 12.
Revelation 9. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit.
So now we see that there's a person. It says a star, but that represents a person. That person actually has the key to the bottomless pit. I believe that is Satan. Most obviously it is, as you look at Luke chapter 10, verse 18, and it says, and he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. Then Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12 says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? Then the bottomless pit is opened.
And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit.
So when these demons start coming out, it's almost like a bunch of bats coming out of nowhere. And if you've ever seen a cave, sometimes bats will come out of the caves and it almost looks like smoke. Well, that's what John saw. Now, the bottomless pit is not the same as hell or Hades, which I'd like to take at this time to kind of explain that to you. This place is divided into 2 compartments, that being in the Old Testament, Sheol, or the New Testament, Hades. This was a place of the dead or departed spirits. Now, paradise, this was the holding place for the saints, a place of peace and rest. This is where Lazarus and Abraham were. Jesus on the cross said, this day shalt thou be with me in paradise. One was carried and the other was buried. If you remember the story in Luke chapter 16, verse 22. And it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. You see, hell is prison. This is a holding place for non-believers, a place of torment. This is where the rich man was. And the thing about it that's interesting is that they could also communicate with one another and they could see each other. It says this, And in hell he lifted up his eyes, being in torment, and seeth Abraham afar off and Lazarus in his bosom. So they could actually see each other. They could actually communicate, but one was in Sheol or hell, and the other was in paradise. Now Jesus preached to the people imprisoned in Hades. 1 Peter 3:19 says, by which also he went and preached unto the spirits in prison. So we see that is hell or Hades or Sheol, whatever you call it, that's what it is. But there's another place, and this is where demons are held, and it's called the bottomless pit. It's not the same as Hades or hell. Now, the Greek word abuso is the English abyss, meaning the bottomless pit, a holding place for demons. This is the Alcatraz of demon imprisonment. The abuso is where the worst of the demons are. Yes, the abuso is so bad that even demons don't want to go to it. As a matter of fact, when you read the story where Jesus meets the demon-possessed man in Gadara, it says this, and they besought him that he would not command them to go out into the deep. And then in the New Living Translation, it says, the demons kept begging Jesus not to send them into the bottomless pit. Then we look at woe number 1, and that's Revelation 9:3-13. Let's look at this.
And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them.
Could this be like a Walking Dead scenario? People want to die, but they cannot die. They try to die, but they cannot die. They cannot commit suicide. As a matter of fact, Dr. Charles Ryrie, who is the former dean of doctrinal studies at Dallas Theological Seminary, said this, the effect of this torment is to drive men to suicide, but they will not be able to die, although men will prefer death to agony of living. Death will not be possible. Bodies will not be able to sink and drown. Poisons and pills will have no effect, and somehow even bullets and knives will not do their intended jobs. Now, that could be a terrible scenario. I mean, you stop and think, people try to die and they cannot die. Dr. Harold Wilmington, one of my professors, kind of believes that as well. He said this, the reason men cannot die is probably because Satan has the key to the shaft and will not allow his followers to leave the earth. So in essence, what he's saying is the Bible says to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. So as soon as you take that last breath and you're a Christian, you go to be with the Lord. What happens to a person who's not saved? Well, to be absent of the body and you're not saved, you go to Sheol or whatever. But it's all locked up at this point and you cannot leave. So if the spirit cannot leave, what happens? You're like a zombie. So people will try to hang themselves and it won't work. They'll try to take pills and it won't work. That's one scenario. There's another one. Dr. John Walvert, who was the former president of Dallas Theological Seminary, believes that the possessing demons will not allow them to die. In Mark chapter 9, it tells this story. Someone from the crowd answered him, Teacher, I brought my son to you, and he has a spirit that makes him unable to speak. Whenever it seizes him, throws him down, and he foams at the mouth, grinding his teeth, and becomes rigid. I asked your disciples to drive them out, but they couldn't. So sometimes It may be that the demons will not release that person. They take them to death, but not release them. Then he goes on to say, how long has this been happening to him? Jesus asked the father. From childhood, he said, and many times it has thrown him into the fire or water to destroy him. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us. Now, I want to tell you this. One of the things that I've done throughout the years is I've spoken on the occult and how it affects families and how it affects children. And for some reason, parents think it's all right to put your children in front of all these different cartoons, all these different things that deal with demonism. Like right now, Elementals is popular in the theaters and released by Disney. Well, just because it's Disney, it doesn't mean that it's family friendly, but it might not be spiritual friendly. The elementals are earth, wind, fire, water, and spirit. And that's what witches worship. Now, another theory that could happen is that God limits these demons to torment but not kill their victims. Like Job. Behold, he is in thy hand. Remember what happened with Job? That he went to God and he said, oh yeah, let me destroy his body and you'll see what happens. And God said, behold, he is in thy hand, but save his life. You cannot kill him. So went Satan forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. So boy, he's in total torment. Could it be that God allowed the demons to take their victims to the gates of hell, but no farther? They could only go as far as that. You know, nobody dies unless God allows you to die. He may just simply say, nobody's going to die at that point. You know, he can take life and he can give life. He may just not let you take your life at that point. So now we move into a situation where these demons are released, and it's very strange. Listen.
And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle. And on their heads were, as it were, crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months.
So for 5 months, man is going to be tormented by these demonic spirits. Now, I've heard everything you can imagine as people in prophecy have tried to describe these spirits. And I've even heard where this was actually the Beatles. Really, I did. This guy said they have long hair. Well, the Beatles had long hair. Oh, they had breastplates. Oh, that's the guitars. I mean, they were way off of what they were saying. Not only that, but they talked about the sting of the tail. And during World War II, people thought that the gunners in the back. But the problem with that is that the gunners in the back were killing people. And these stingers are only to torment their victims. Now, how would I describe this, or how would I explain this? Sometimes you just have to take what you see. For example, demons are described in a lot of different ways. Angels are described in a lot of ways. Maybe these are just actual forms of these demons. They look like gods that people worship. Whether it be in Egyptology, you look at these pictures, half man, half bird, half animal. In Hinduism, you have an elephant, Medusa. In Greek mythology, well, it may just be that these spirits really are described just as they are.
And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon.
Well, the question that comes up right now simply says, well, Mr. Benoit, is that the devil? Well, we'll discuss that in our next session.